And the way that Frank kind of feeds is interesting. Like a spider, he has to like grab them and stick his fingers into their like spine and suck them out. You get like the sound of like a Capri Sun when you're drinking a Capri Sun. You get towards the end of it. That's literally what it sounds like.
That's a nice plug for Capri Sun. It's ripping into somebody's spinal fluid.
Keep in mind, John, I've plugged Capri Sun. I've plugged Shudder already. You know, we're on a roll.
Yeah, right? I mean, if any of these companies want to give us some goddamn money.
Capri Sun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get on that whole Hellraiser drink.
Yeah, we'll compare everything to Capri Sun, no matter what we're reviewing.
Yeah.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Cottage, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Thank God he had pins growing out of his face and not dicks.
Yeah, you wouldn't be called Dickhead. No one wants to be called Dickhead. No one wants to be called that. Although that would be an interesting Cenobite. And technically, you could call the Channard Cenobite in Hellraiser 2 Dickhead, because that is clearly a penis that is attached to that Cenobite's head.
We're off and running.
We are off and running. We are off to the races, folks. We are on episode 226. Jesus, 226. First of all, I gotta find it hilarious that we're 226 episodes in, and this is the first time that we're doing a review on what arguably is one of my favorite films, period.
Yeah,
like,
that is surprising.
That is surprising. Like this is literally in my pantheon of films that I go to all the time, and that I consider some of the films that made me want to get into making movies. This one is right at the top. It shares that crown with another film that I think we probably should do a review of, like an actual really good review of, and that is 2002's May by Lucky McKee. But this one right here, 1987's Hellraiser, is what we're going to be talking about today.
How do we talk about 4 Neil Breen movies before this?
I don't know. You know what it is? I think because of the fact that now they're considering, well, they're actually considering, they're doing it. They're remaking Hellraiser, I think on 2 different levels, because Hulu's got a movie that's going to be coming out with a female Pinhead that has some fanboys going, no.
Pinhead doesn't have a pussy.
So you have that whole thing happening, and then I'm pretty sure that there's also a web series being made, not a web series, but an HBO series that's being made that's also around Hellraiser. So there's like 2 Hellraiser properties that they're kind of being made in tandem. So it's kind of in the spirit of it. Okay, it's kind of, the news is kind of pushing us towards it. Plus, with it being after Halloween, we figured we had to have some kind of, talking about this movie.
Yeah, it's the end of our spooky season.
It is, and I know that we didn't have one out last week, and From the Concession stands out, so you can listen to that and watch it. I just put out an episode literally a couple minutes before we started recording, John, dealing with our review of the Fear Street series. And yes, we did record it way back when Fear Street premiered, but this thing called life happens and gets in the way of editing this stuff, and editing video is a lot harder than editing audio, so it kind of took a little while to get it out, but I just put it out there, and then this one's coming out probably next week, so you got some stuff to listen to. But either way, Hellraiser. What can you say about it? What to kind of start you off with? Well, John, let me ask you this. Were you ever a big fan of Hellraiser? Were you like into this kind of universe of sadomasochistic demons from beyond the grave?
I certainly don't think as much as you, but this is one of the first of the horror section of the video rental store. One of the first ones that that I got. I built up to it. I saw like Halloween, And
Really?
Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready for Pinhead. You know,
No one's ever just ready for Hellraiser. You're never ready for it. It's one of those things you just have to experience it. I say experience because this movie is all about experiences and pleasure and pain. So much experiences.
Interestingly, this film is more subdued than I remember. It's kind of like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing, like where you think it's the bloodiest movie of all time, but it's not, you know.
It's got its share of gore, and depending on what version you watch, because that's the thing, a lot of movies that came out at this time period, the mid to late 80s, there were a lot of different versions that came out, mainly because I believe it's because of the video nasties, because they kind of had to make multiple versions. So, like, I remember the first time I watched this, I watched it, actually watched Hellraiser 2 first, because of the box art. It was like, same sort of thing. I went to the video rental store, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? You see this box art, you see this gaggle of weird people in front of it, and you're just like, I have to watch this now. And I watched it, and I was probably at an age in which I should not have watched this, because Hellraiser 2 especially leans into the sex way more than this one does.
The sexy times.
The sexy time. But, you know, I watched that and I'm just like, I fell in love with this whole aesthetic and this universe that Clive Barker had. And then eventually I watched the first one and I was just blown the fuck away. But it is one of those movies that has multiple versions put out because of the violence, because of things like there were a lot of times where you didn't see like Frank put his fingers into people and suck them dry. Like that was something that they just didn't include in a lot of those different versions. So like ultimately nowadays when you watch this, it's the full unrated cut because no one gives a shit anymore. But yeah, it's not as violent as some other films in my opinion.
Well, I wouldn't know nothing about video nasties.
You wouldn't know nothing about that. You wouldn't know nothing about video nasties. Yeah, but
cheap plug for my YouTube channel
in
case anybody has no idea what we're talking about.
Well, there was a video nasties thing in the 80s by the UK, which they hated a lot of movies, and then there's your thing. Then there's your thing. Which your thing is much easier to watch. I don't know, video nasties from UK. That's not fun. Yeah. So this movie, if you've never heard of Hellraiser, it is the directorial debut, like real directorial debut, because Clive Barker had done some short films prior to this, and this isn't his first foray into film, but his first time really directing it. And it tells the story of Kirsty Cotton and her dad and her stepmom, Julia, who move into a house and find out that the house actually is inhabited by Frank, who is the disembodied body of his brother, of Kirsty's father, okay, Larry, and Frank needs some skin.
Yeah.
He needs some skin. Because he lost all his skin because he opened a Pandora's box, and I'm not even being facetious about that. It actually is a Pandora's box of pleasure and pain and experiences, and basically it summons our favorite friends, the Cenobites, including my personal favorite and friend, Doug Bradley, as Pinhead. No joke, I had dinner with him at one time. It was awesome. The most surreal experience. Just surreal experience. But they rip apart Frank, and ultimately the movie kind of picks up from there, where Frank gets a little blood on him and kind of recombines himself, and he's on a search for some skin. He kind of has some sexy time with his brother's wife, which is really disturbing. And
that bitch.
Yeah, she's fucking total bitch. We're gonna get into that. But basically, Kirsty is kind of on a race against time to stop Frank from, killing people, and also gets involved with the Cenobites. It's a whole giant mess of issues, but it's a great film, and we're going to talk about it. Okay. It's a great film. So
I think we already are.
We already are. We're deep into this here. We're not. This is unusual for us to be recording on 12 o'clock on a Monday, so it's kind of off our game a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about Clive Barker. Did you ever read any of his stuff?
No, unfortunately, I have not. But I understand that like he's as good of an author as he is a filmmaker.
Oh man, he's I would say that he is by none a far better author than he is a filmmaker. Clive Barker, he was touted at the time as the future of horror by Stephen King. And to get that kind of, stamp of approval is a big deal. Okay, he came out with a series of books at the time called the Books of Blood, which a lot of those stories have been turned into movies. So like Midnight Meat Train was one of his. He also did a number of movies like Candyman, which, now it's been out for a while, but that was a Clive Barker story called The Forbidden. His work is some of the most visceral type of writing that I've ever seen when it comes to horror. He has a knack for really describing, and it almost gives you like a weird taste when you read his stuff, if that makes sense. Like he goes really into detail in these worlds and with these characters. And it plays through in the films that he's made. And he's only made a very small number of films compared to other filmmakers. With Hellraiser is an interesting one because of the fact that really this experience of him making this movie is formed partially because of a bad experience he had with viewing the adaptation of one of his other works. Did you know about that?
No.
Yeah. So a movie that came out a couple years prior called Rawhead Rex, which is a very unusual one. I've actually never seen it. I think it's on Shudder, but the movie.
I was just looking at the poster art for
yeah, it's really bizarre. It's about I think it's like a Scottish town and some monster kind of comes. Anyway, Clive had such a horrible experience with the making of that film because he was not the director. He wrote the material, obviously, but he hated how it was presented. He hated what it ultimately ended up being, was another fucking monster. And that's not, if you've ever read a Clive Barker story, his monsters aren't really monsters. Oftentimes they are representations of parts of ourselves. So ultimately he hated how it was viewed. So when the next property, Hellbound Heart, his novella, was optioned by New World Pictures to be made, he ultimately said, yeah, I'm directing this thing. And he had never really directed a feature film ever. Ever. Like, I think
that takes a set.
Well, he had made some very experimental films in college. And you can watch them, and they have some Doug Bradley in them. But they're honestly very difficult to watch because they're experimental, like crazy experimental film school stuff. Salome and I believe the one one's called The Forbidden is the other one. And I tracked them down at the video rental store one time and watched them. I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching. But that was the last time
without like white wine and little cheese sandwiches.
Oh yeah, it is. Those movies are ones that you absolutely can put on the background and at a party and be like, "What are we watching? We're watching Salome and the Forbidden, or Salome, or whatever the hell it is." But he had never directed a narrative prior to this, and so I think the story goes that he actually went to the library and picked up a book on directing.
Man,
and that was it.
That's insane.
And that was it. To be fair, he surrounded himself with extremely talented people. He had Image Studio do the makeup for this, and they were the ones who ultimately did a lot of the Pinhead makeup and did the Cenobites, and then ultimately did the Nightbreed stuff years later. So he surrounded himself with really, really talented people that ultimately made Hellraiser what it is. But it's funny, just that this guy was known for writing, never directed a film, like a serious film before, and he jumps headfirst into it.
Yeah, because when I Googled him in preparation for this episode, it said American playwright. It didn't say director.
Because he had done that was something else that he had done a lot of early on was playwright as well. So he had worked in the theater, but he had never done a real film, like a feature like this. So, but it was something where he wanted to have control over what was presented. And if you read The Hellbound Heart, there are some differences between the novella and Hellraiser, the movie we get. The biggest one is just that, at least for me, the biggest one is that Larry Cotton, the dad, who seriously, he dads it up in this movie, actually was not the dad of Kirsty, but was the friend of Kirsty. They were supposed to be kind of like a weird sort of thing, like Kirsty really is in love with Larry, but Larry ends up marrying Julia, and Frank and Larry still are brothers, but it's not like it was in the movie. But somewhere along the way, the rewriting happened, and it ended up being that they were now Kirsty is Larry's daughter.
I've gone cross-eyed.
You've gone cross-eyed. I know when I read the novella one time, like because I read the novella after I saw the movie, and I'm just like, wait a minute, that's not right. But oh, they also named Larry Rory. Which, okay.
In rewatching this, I was like, why does the dad seem so fucking familiar? And then I just looked him up on IMDb. He's Zodiac from the first Dirty Harry movie.
Yes, he is.
I was like, that's it.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Andrew Robinson. Yeah. In his most dad role ever. But yeah, so this movie, it starts off, because it kind of gave you a little bit of the nuts and bolts of it. It starts off with our villain, Frank, who is really the biggest piece of shit on the planet.
Yeah. Well, let's see. He's a murderer. He's into sadomasochism.
Oh, yeah.
He's a pedophile. He's
everything under the sun.
Yeah.
He's into incest. He's into drugs. He's into all sorts of shit. He's fucks women, probably fucks men, everyone. He's just fucking everybody. And
so he's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. But Frank is literally the biggest human piece of shit that's ever existed. Okay. And he's in Morocco because when you've, fucked and snorted and done everything, that's where you go. You go to Morocco and try to search out for this mysterious puzzle box. See, I'm not even joking when I say it was Pandora's box. It actually is. And this puzzle box is promised to him that it will give him the further reaches of experience because he's, fucked and snorted and done every drug on the planet and had sex with everybody that he doesn't know what to do anymore. He's kind of, it's never enough.
Are you reading the autobiography of Motley Crue?
You know what? Probably some of their members were watching this and going like, oh yeah, I totally feel what Frank's going through.
Oh, I've been there, Matt. I've been there.
Yeah, but he opens up the box, and sure enough, he gets more than he expected. Turns out the only where you can go after you've fucked and snorted everything is to get ripped apart by sadomasochistic demons. And they literally rip the man apart. They hang him up. He gets ripped apart by chains, and he gets chopped up in tiny pieces.
Were we supposed to know that these were former human beings, the Cenobites at this point?
Not yet.
No. Okay.
No, not yet. You don't find that out until Hellraiser 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And none of that is in the novella, if I remember correctly. None of that's in the novella. That stuff was added after the fact. But all you're supposed to know is just these are demons that kind of are, specialists in the further reaches of experience. And they provide that. They provide a service. They're like garbage men. Okay? They're garbage.
Just taking out human garbage.
From hell. They're just, because think about it. The only people who are opening up the box are generally horrible people, so they're kind of garbage men. They're taking out the garbage.
And their outfits are great for eating barbecue. They can
totally.
clean it right off. All that
totally.
leather.
A lot of leather, a lot of chains. Yeah. You can just hang a rib on one, and you just hang a pulled pork sandwich on the other, and If you want barbecue sauce, well, you've got a little section cut out right in your skin where you can just house some, barbecue sauce and just dip that sucker in there. You know?
Oh, there are so many sights to show you.
So many sights, so many pleasures. So yeah, Frank gets ripped apart, and Pinhead uses the box to clean up the place, which I find awesome. I'm like, why can't I have that in my house? I have children. If I had the box and I could just like little swirl it, and it causes all of the mess and spilled applesauce to just disappear, like that would be so awesome.
He's like the Cat in the Hat, you know?
He is kind of like the Cat in the Hat. He is totally like the Cat in the Hat. So yeah, he does that, and sure enough, about a minute later, Larry and Julia come in because this house that they're in is actually but Larry and Frank's mother's house. It's where they grew up in England. And sure enough, they're coming to move in because apparently things are bad in their marriage. We find out why later. But Larry's like, this is a fresh start. And sure enough, they're all going through the house, and Julia finds where Frank's been sleeping at. And not only is Frank a horrible human being, but he's also a very messy boy. He's a very messy boy. He's just got maggots and shit everywhere. He's got weird statues of people having sex, pictures of himself with people having sex. Like I'd say, I don't know, what's the best word to describe it? Sty.
A fixer-upper.
A fixer-upper. Yeah. You know, you're going to need at least 2 boxes to clean that place up. Like, you need 2 boxes with swirly goodness to clean that place up.
Even beyond that stuff, just like there's like mold everywhere in this
Mold.
house. Like, Mom let this place go to shit.
Well, my thing is this. Why is this the first time they're seeing the place?
Yeah.
Like, that's my thing. You fly all the way out here because apparently they're coming from America. So you're flying all the way back here. This is the first time you've seen the place? Like, wouldn't you, I don't know, wouldn't Larry pop over first before he brings Julia over and then says we're going to move in on Sunday? Like, yeah, that's the one thing that always bothered me. It's like, you just now saw the place?
Well, Frank was probably too busy trying to bang his mom, you know, so for Larry to go over.
Gross. Yeah. Well, Julia has a flashback in the sty. She has a flashback in the sty because she sees a picture of Frank, and we get a little bit of our first little flashback of Julia and Frank's relationship. Okay. This is her brother-in-law, by the way. Okay. Ew. But yeah, it turns out that on the wedding day, Frank went to Pound Town on Julia, and she never quite got over that. Yeah.
Have I mentioned how much I hate Julia?
Oh, man. Let's talk about Julia. If there's one person that I think everybody can hate in this film, it is Julia. And I give Claire Higgins props for crafting a person that is universally detested at every turn.
Yeah.
So John, tell me a little bit about Julia.
Oh my God, this bitch. Well, let's just say she has the poor choices in men.
Oh, she's got terrible choices in dudes.
Because, like, yeah, he just comes up to her and he's like, or Frank, you know, and it's just like, you know, you want me. Let me jam my fingers in your mouth. And she goes, oh, okay. On my wedding day, sure. Yeah.
On the wedding dress.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The wedding dress is on the bed, and he's just banging her.
I'm surprised. Like, you know, if he had during the wedding ceremony, like, bent her over, she would have just been okay with it. You know,
yeah, it's okay in front of the priest, in front of family, friends, you know, people who came from out of town. You know, he's just like, yeah, eat some of that wedding cake. I'm going to fuck you right here. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, don't bang in the chocolate fountain. I was going to use that later. Yeah.
No. Give me some of them flowers to bang in the flower girl. Ew.
No,
further reaches of experience.
Because the thing is, like, it's not like he raped her. Like, she is very willing in this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
very consenting. So, like, yeah, she's kind of as much of a dirtball as he is.
She is. She totally is. And you could say that Larry's not that great either. he's kind of aloof.
Yeah,
Like, I feel
there's
bad
nothing
for Larry.
exactly wrong with him. I mean, he maybe has a couple personality problems, but like, he's not like his brother.
No, he's not, but he's clearly just like, I don't know what the fuck to do with you anymore. Like, he's just kind of like, there was a moment where he's watching boxing and Julia's kind of zoned out, and any normal person would be like, what's your deal? And he's just like watching the boxing and saying, is this too violent? Nah, it's good. It's also mainly because of the fact that prior to that, she was killing people for Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. Larry just kind of feels like a wet blanket the whole time. And I feel bad for him because he does get killed. Sorry to spoil it for you, but he does. But it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Larry's vanilla. If Frank is Rocky Road, Larry is vanilla.
Maybe French vanilla.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But Julia also really, really hates her stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Really
They don't
hates-
exactly have the best relationship. But then
No.
again, who does Julia have a good relationship with? Oh, I know, the criminal rapist. That's the only person she gets along with.
Yeah, well, they see eye to eye or muscular eye with no skin to skinned eye. Yeah. You might be saying, well, Brian, why do you keep bringing up all this stuff about people without skin? Well, that's because during moving day, not to segue, but during moving day, Larry, our hapless sacrifice, because that's what it kind of is in this movie, he cuts his hand in the attic where Frank was ripped apart. And this is where we learn our first rule of Hellraiser, and that is that blood can bring back the dead.
Which, makes sense.
Which makes sense. It makes sense for the movie.
Yeah.
It does make sense for the movie. And what precedes is, honestly, I would say, one of the absolute best effect sequences from this time period. And it's something that a lot of people go back to. Like, at least for me, I go back to this as one of the best effect sequences from the mid to late 80s when it came to makeup. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, well, I would say almost all of the effects in the movie hold up except for the very end.
Yeah, I want to get to the shit parts because there's some shit parts in there.
I mean, there are some things where you go, like here and there, but like for the most part, a lot of this stuff still holds up. And, there's that debate on, computer effects versus, in person. You go back and forth on that all day. But, sometimes the in-person ones, while they do seem a little more authentic because they're actually there in the environment, sometimes they just do not hold up. But most of the effects in this movie do.
Yeah. But this particular sequence where Frank is reborn is done in a way that it holds up today, absolutely. Despite the fact that it's done primarily with miniatures and it's done with stop motion at some points and reverse photography. And you might say, well, you can do that with CGI. And you're right, but there's something to using practical with this because it's very visceral. It starts off in the most innocuous way. You see kind of these puddles of goo just kind of start to form. And then out of the puddles of goo, you see these arms shoot up. And again, this is done all practically. It's done on set. Okay? It's got a tactile feel to it. And yeah, is it the most anatomically correct stuff? Probably not. But it just proceeds in a way that just builds up on top of one another. And I think if you tried to redo this, which I hope with the remake they're doing, they don't fuck it up and try to CGI all this shit because
they will.
I know they will, but I just really hope they don't because the fact that this particular sequence where Frank is reborn, it's iconic because of how tactile it is. Okay? You see him literally being formed from nothing. Okay? And then he kind of rises up and screams in this weird way. And on top of that, you've got music. I didn't mention this about the music. The music in this film is some of the best music for a horror film, period. Like, I put it up there with John Carpenter's stuff.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I mean, a lot of the music in any kind of Clive Barker project, whether he's the director or not, is good. Like Candyman has great music.
Well, that's Philip Glass. So, but
Yeah.
like he didn't direct that. That was
right. Yeah, I'm saying he didn't direct it, but yeah, it's based on.
But this is Christopher Young. So this is Christopher Young's score. But it's some of the most operatic and just dynamic music. And this sequence where Frank's reborn, it just is a perfect scene when it comes to using practical and then also building tension with the music. After that, we get this really awkward dinner conversation, which I don't know why it's there. I guess it's there to show that Julia's a really horrible human being still. Who's she's really sitting there just going googly eyes over Frank.
Yeah. And then like just dismisses herself from the table like halfway through dinner. It's like, I'm going to bed. Like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you
That's
do you.
Cool. And Larry's just sitting there just be like, this is a mistake. This is a bad idea. So, but yeah, she goes upstairs and she goes into the attic, and that's where she discovers that Frank is still alive. Kinda. He just is the most gross looking thing. He looks like a dried out raisin. Like even more dried out than a raisin actually is.
Like the California raisins. He was one of those in the 80s.
Well, he looks like a California raisin that's been dipped into KY jelly.
Yeah. I love the effects like of just all the makeup work on him in general were good, you know.
Oh yeah.
He's like a very moist Vision from the Marvel movies.
Yeah, he's like, Julia, you need to help me.
Now, I don't know how he knows that he has to like eat other people's souls or whatever to
drink their
get
blood.
his skin back. Yeah,
just suck them out dry.
he just knows this, I guess. You know.
Well, you know what? Here's my logic behind it. Okay, my logic is that he went to hell. Okay, because that's clearly where he went, and probably learned some of this stuff while in hell, because we don't know how long hell lasts. If you go by, I don't know, Constantine rules, like the movie Constantine, then hell, like a minute in reality, in our time, is like an eternity in hell. And he was probably in there for like, what, 500 years if we go by those rules, because there's like clearly an afternoon that takes place between when he gets kind of ripped apart and, well, actually no, it's actually a couple days. So yeah, he's probably been in there for at least a couple eternities if we go by Constantine rules. But I took it as he probably learned that while he was, in hell. Learned that he had to suck people's blood dry. But yeah, that Julie needs to help him lure victims so that Frank can get skin.
And thankfully, Julia has no problem with this whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like,
whatever.
Okay. I'll go murder technically innocent people.
Well, she needs his skin so that there's skin on his penis so that they can have sex again. That's the motivation. That literally, in my mind, that is the whole motivation for Julia, is she wants Frank to get skin so that she can get Pound Town again.
Oh, Julia. Yeah.
Oh, Julia. Because she doesn't want to have sex with, the pruny KY guy. She don't want to have sex with him. Because it's just what? It's just a little pickle at this point. It's been kind of sat out in the desert sun for like, a week. That's all it looks like right now. If it gets skin, it's a skin pickle then. but yeah,
skin pickle.
Skin pickle. Never thought after 226 episodes we'd get to say that, but here we are. But yeah, so she needs skin on him so that she can have sex with him again and have him. That's all the motivation she needs. And
then we get like a montage of her like killing like 3, 4, 5 guys.
Well, yeah, she kills like 5 or 6 people, and she does it in the most 80s fashion ever. Like she literally just her costume is I'm bad.
Yeah.
She's got this slick back, like, hair thing going on. She's got the elbow pads, and she's drinking her wine, just sitting there going like, yes, I need more men for him. And the way that Frank kind of feeds is interesting. Like a spider, he has to like grab them and stick his fingers into their like spine and suck them out. You get like the sound of like a Capri Sun when you're drinking a Capri Sun. You get towards the end of it. That's literally what it sounds like.
That's a nice plug for Capri Sun. It's ripping into somebody's spinal fluid.
Keep in mind, John, I've plugged Capri Sun. I've plugged Shudder already. We're on a roll.
Yeah, right? I mean, if any of these companies want to give us some goddamn money.
Capri Sun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get on that whole Hellraiser drink.
Yeah, we'll compare everything to Capri Sun, no matter what we're reviewing.
Yeah. You never thought Capri Sun and Hellraiser would be mixed together, but here we are, right?
With your almost like impenetrable sacks.
Yeah.
God damn it! Like try to get a straw in that motherfucker.
Well, you're not like Frank. Frank can just make a hole with his fingers.
Yeah. Frank can make a hole in the sack.
I gotta say, the victims are the most pathetic guys ever. They're just randos that just like, oh, well, a girl says they want to have sex with me, and I'm going to go to their weird house and go into their creepy-ass attic. No big deal. Drop my pants.
Yeah, well, the one guy, too, she's like, I like to bang on the floor. Like, I want to, like, and the guy's like, yeah, let's have sex on the dirty hardwood. Like, you're kinky. Let's, that guy, he was down for anything.
Yeah, I mean, some
if
of these
she was
guys,
like, I want you to eat like Cheerios out of my ass. He would have been like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it honey nut?
Yeah.
Or
it
regular?
will be. Yeah.
If it's regular, I got to put some sugar on that asshole. But either way, like, Frank gets enough. He doesn't get skin yet, but he's all like, he's no longer just a raisin. He's more like, a fleshy raisin. He's got a little bit of blood on him. Okay,
he's getting his swagger back.
He's getting his swagger back, and he's like, I can taste this. He just smokes a cigarette. And this is honestly the scene when Julia's talking to Frank after he's got a couple more bodies in him, where we learn a little bit about the Cenobites. So we haven't really talked about it. And that's the thing. That's the thing why I like this film above all the other Hellraiser films, is just because this film is not so much about Pinhead and the Cenobites. They're kind of more or less an afterthought.
It's shocking how little we get of them.
Well, and the novella is the same way. The Cenobites are more or less just the supernatural, vehicle that we get kind of the hell stuff. Okay, but the real terror in this film comes from Frank. He's the main villain in this. But, Frank kind of explains what the box is, that it is a conveyance between their earth and hell, in that it opens up the world to the Cenobites, and the Cenobites basically rip you apart for pleasure. Okay? And he explains how he slipped them, and that they're actually on their way trying to get him. Because basically, like garbage men, the Cenobites really do not like to have their garbage end up back on the sidewalk after they have thrown it out. Okay? They don't like that. They have to go back there. They have to pick it up. It's a whole mess. So it's not fun. And so the Cenobites really have kind of not known that Frank has escaped them. And at the same time, we get a little bit of Kirsty, which Kirsty, I'd say, has the least developed character in this whole fucking film.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. And it's a shame, because Ashley Lawrence is really good, but I don't think they know what to do with her. They don't know what to do with her.
Yeah, she's needed for the third act, but before that, there's like nothing for her to do.
Well, she's like, you kind of get that she really doesn't like her stepmom, and we're like, yeah,
imagine that.
Imagine that. You don't like your evil stepmother because she's an evil stepmother.
Your evil, cold, callous bitch of a stepmother.
Yeah, the one who literally just comes downstairs with a T-shirt saying, "I'm the evil stepmother. Hate me." Okay, she might as well have. But Kirsty really doesn't do a whole lot other than that, she has a nasty kind of dream, kind of right after the dinner party, in which she imagines that her dad's dead. So it's kind of foreshadowing. And that, again, is a Clive Barker trope that I really like that he includes in this film. And it's that he uses visuals as metaphors, and it kind of is unusual in a horror movie, especially what we would consider, like, I don't think you call this a slasher, but horror films back then really did not have visual metaphors. Like, you get this baby crying sound during this dream sequence. You have this bed that starts to slowly get filled up with blood, and you have Kirsty coming in covered with feathers, and out pops her dad, just covered in gore. And it's very visceral scene, in my opinion. But it's something you don't see. You don't really see that in a lot of movies.
Yeah, well, this is one of them artsy fartsy horror movies.
Well, it is. It totally is, and it's one of those ones that I'm like, if you're sick and tired of Freddy Krueger and Jason and Michael Myers, if you really are not into that and you want something that's a bit more intellectual, then go with Hellraiser. Don't go with the ones after Hellraiser 2, though, because they'll make you angry.
You're cutting it off at 2? Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. 3 is okay because it's got Pinhead in it. 4, half of it's good. The other half of it is terrible. 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 And I don't need to talk about the other ones. You don't need to. There are degrees and degrees of shit. And we'll get to all of them.
You want to talk about Wish.com Pinhead?
Which one? There's 2.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Fat Pinhead, or are we talking about the last one?
I was thinking Fat Pinhead. Yeah.
Oh, Fat Pinhead's hilarious. I Wish.com Pinhead. when you order Pinhead and all you get is, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's melted. But anyway, getting back to Kirsty, her story really doesn't pick up until she kind of walks in and finds Frank there, and Frank literally tries to fuck her.
Yeah. Hey, Frank, first, a couple of things. One, she's underage. B, she's your niece.
Is she underage, though? I don't think she's underage. I think she's probably
she's at college,
college
right?
level. I don't think she's underage.
All right,
but
well,
yeah, the whole niece thing should be the thing.
Yeah.
That
you
should be
don't have skin.
Well, he probably has a penis that's not a dried out pickle anymore, but it's more like a dried out pickle that's been dipped into ketchup.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a little bit bloody.
It's a chicken parm.
It's a chicken parm. Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah. He had his chicken parm up. Gross. But yeah, he tries to fuck her. It says, "Come to daddy." It's like, oh.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, God, this fucking guy. Yeah.
This fucking guy. And Kirsty steals the box and throws it out the window, causing Frank to lose his shit. Because he knows that if Kirsty's able to open the box up, then the Cenobites are coming, and it's going to be a bad time for Frank. Probably also a bad time for anyone who opens that box, like Kirsty.
Yeah, good thing when she threw it out of there, she didn't accidentally open it out the window. But I mean,
can't open it. It's not like that kind of box. It's not going to hit the ground and just suddenly pop open, and there's Pinhead on the side of the street going like,
"What the fuck?
Whoa, what the fuck? I was off today."
Yeah. God damn it. This is my first day off this month.
First day off in 1,000 years, and what the fuck? Okay. But yeah, so Kirsty kind of wanders out, and this is the part I don't like in this film, and I think it's called they didn't know what to do to go from Kirsty in the hospital to Kirsty stealing the box in the street. So you get this really weirdo sequence where she's just like walking through kind of in a daze, although there's nothing that really leads into that daze. And you get this whole voiceover of Frank in a very slowed down motion. And she kind of passes out on the street, and she ends up in the hospital. And when she's in the hospital, that she opens up the box. And again, getting our crazy ass visuals in this, you have this TV that's in the corner. As she's opening the box, as she's moving the pieces around, you start to see this weird shit on the TV. Again, intellectual horror film here. You know, you get like a picture of a rose, and then it kind of static, and then you get another picture of another rose that's kind of dying, and then you get another shot of this IV that's being filled with blood, and it pops open. It's crazy. It's seriously a crazy, terrifying sequence, and that's when we get our favorite gaggle of demons, the Cenobites, who show up.
So you don't get that anymore in movies because like technology is now like so sleek. Like you don't get the cool static TV or like the radios, you know, that like used to be super creepy. Although that movie,
I just think
Malignant,
people don't want to do it. I just think that's what it is. I think people just are like, personally, and I've had a critique of this with modern horror for a while. There's no build up. Like, that's what I think the biggest problem is. There's no fucking build-up. This movie is full of build-up.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? It has a ton of build-up. And you just don't see that nowadays. No one takes their fucking time.
I think it was... No, it wasn't Malignant. I think it was Conjuring 3 or Devil Made Me Do It or whatever the fuck.
I watched it and I was just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, I think there's a scene where, like, the plasma flat-screen TV has, like, static on it. I'm like... James Wan, you know that's not a thing anymore, right? Like,
it depends on what kind of static. It could be like just like digital macro blocking, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it was that classic like gray and black static.
Well, that's not going to happen. No,
yeah,
no, it doesn't happen anymore. You don't get that. Yeah. But like, there are ways you could kind of make that happen. But the whole point is just that you've got a buildup of visuals that lead into a crescendo of the demon's arrival. You know, you've got the sounds of these bells hitting that are iconic. You've got this fog that starts to come in out of nowhere, and then sure enough, we see Pinhead and crew, and they're fucking terrifying. Like, literally, you have to take a step back. And I've seen this movie probably over 100 times, and every single time we get to that scene, you're just like, whoa, wow.
My favorite is Yeast Infection Mouth.
Yeast Infection Mouth. Which one's that one? Chatterer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where he grabs her and then puts his finger in her mouth to shut her up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chatterer's everyone's second. I've always been partial to the female Cenobite. They don't give her a name. They're just like, that's the female Cenobite. Who I believe was actually like Clive Barker's cousin. That was his cousin.
I didn't know that.
And then they recast her with Barbie Wilde in the sequel. But yeah, I think that was like Clive Barker's cousin or something like that. And sure enough, like they're all terrifying. They're all terrifying. Pinhead, of course, is like, you just, called us up. Now we're gonna rip you apart. The female Cenobite is in her own right extremely terrifying. Butterball doesn't say a damn thing. But he's just imposing. So, basically Kirsty's fucked. She's totally fucked. And ultimately she makes a bargain with the Cenobites because, again, they're garbage men. They don't know that Frank has escaped them. So Kirsty's like, let me lead you to Frank. And sure enough, if you lead me to Frank, you got to leave me alone. Which I'm like, Pinhead doesn't need to do any of that shit. Like,
yeah,
okay. And he's just like, well, maybe, but if you try to trick us, I'll tear your soul apart.
And she's like, fair.
Yeah. Okay. So while all this is going on, of course, we're back at the old homestead. Things are getting kind of weird with Frank and Julia and Larry. Like, there's a moment when Julia's having sex with Larry and Frank's like right above them. And he just like has a rat with a knife. He just cuts open and he's like, I could kill him right here.
Just like their wedding night,
Just like his wedding night. He's just creepy ass fucker. Yeah, by the way, I didn't mention this. He's wearing a suit. Frank is wearing a suit. He's literally just muscle and sinew and blood and he's wearing a fucking suit.
Hey, he's slowly become human again. He wants to look dapper. Nothing wrong with that.
But he's all blood, which means it's all covered in blood.
Yeah. What
dry cleaning bill is going to be crazy. Especially his chicken parm dick.
Chicky palm dick.
Chicky palm dick.
I don't understand this, by the way. Inevitably, he kills his brother and then becomes his brother?
So what he does, okay, is he basically rips off the skin of Larry and puts it on himself. Because you actually can see the seam right where his hairline is at. Like, if you look really closely, and this is the one criticism I'll have, is like they kind of play into it as, oh yeah, Larry is really Larry until the moment when he says, I had to kill, Larry, and then you realize it's Frank. But the whole time you see him, he's got this seam right along the hairline that is so obvious.
Yeah, people are unfazed by blood in this movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. No.
Kirsty sees her dad with, blood all around his scalp, and she's...
That's what I'm saying. It's all there. You could see it and be like, well, something happened.
Yeah.
So, something happened to Dad. But yeah, so Kirsty comes back, and this is after Frank has apparently killed Larry and removed all of his skin and put it on himself.
What a great brother.
Yeah, great brother. Brother to love, man. And this is kind of, you could tell that Frank is getting impatient because he's not even going through the process of sucking his brother dry. He's just like, I'm going to take your skin. So he puts it on. Kirsty comes back. She's so frazzled, she doesn't even notice the massive seam along his hairline that I know I saw. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that shit? It looks like, someone got, jam all over the side of his head. And it's kind of revealed that it's actually Frank. Because she's like, I talked to the Cenobites and they're coming and blah, blah, blah. And that's when Frank tries to either fuck her or kill her or both.
Yeah, we don't exactly know which order.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But there's kind of a chase that kind of ensues, and Julia kind of gets mixed up in there. She gets stabbed, as one does, which, good.
Could have happened to a nicer lady. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was the only way it was going to happen. The only thing that pissed me off, though, is that somehow, and I'm guessing that there must have been a section cut, but Julia ends up getting stabbed and then sucked dry by Frank, and then her body ends up somehow getting onto a mattress where she's holding the box, and I don't know how that happened, and something that's always bothered me.
Probably just something with editing, probably
that's the only I can
producer
guess.
said, you got to cut this out. And they're like, well, it's not going to make much sense for this, but
the only thing I could guess is that somehow she got a hold of the box as she was dying and ended up crawling onto the bed and opened up. And that's where the Cenobites kind of came, because she knew about the Cenobites, but for some reason that section just never got, I think it probably got filmed, but it probably just never was put in the edit. Probably because it just slowed down the action too much. Because Kirsty opens the door and suddenly the Cenobites are there. And they're pointing down at this corpse saying, we need the man who did this.
Yeah.
And Kirsty, being an idiot, kind of thinks, oh yeah, that's my dad, when it actually was Frank. Well, she thinks it's Frank and then thinks it's her dad. It's a big mess.
Yeah.
The ending's kind of a mess. But Kirsty's able to lead Frank into the attic and get Frank to admit that he's actually Frank and not Larry. And that is when the Cenobites kind of pop up and be like, dude, we got you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously. Pinhead should come out and just be like, ha ha. Got ya.
And they do a little exfoliating for him.
Oh, he gets it in such the best way. Oh man, and you can tell that the Cenobites are not as bad as you think, because they're just this isn't for your eyes. He tells Kirsty, get out of here. You don't want to see this.
Yeah.
Okay? And sure enough, Frank gets ripped apart by chains in the most glorious way possible. And it's you can feel it. Like, that's the thing, is you watch this movie just like, I can totally feel all of that.
Yeah, and it's nice that it builds up to this gore. It's not like something that, not that this movie is exactly innocent the rest of the time, but like,
No.
This level of carnage is not overly present in the rest of the movie. So it's earned.
It's totally earned. Now after this is the part that I think kind of doesn't make any sense. Is that after this, the Cenobites start coming for Kirsty. Because again, they said, well, we might, maybe. So their maybe was no. We want you to. And this part is, I'd say, the most unexplored. And I have a feeling that it was more or less like they didn't know how to end it. Because I think it could have ended with Frank getting ripped apart, Julia getting her comeuppance, and you could have called it a day. But I think they were just like, well, what the fuck do we do with the Cenobites at this point? They're supposed to be monsters. People are going to want monsters to kind of get what
be
counts
monstrous.
them.
Yeah.
Be monstrous. So you get this thing where Pinhead says, we have such size to show you. He chases after Kirsty. Kirsty kind of runs into the female Cenobite, and she gets chased by also a hell demon that just happens to be there. Now, did you notice the film workers pushing that hell demon thing?
No.
Oh, you didn't notice it. You got to watch it again, because there is a moment where Kirsty opens the door and she looks down and this big hell demon thing kind of pops out. And it's the first time you ever see this. It's never been shown any time prior. We don't know exactly what this thing is, just that it's some sort of demon creature, and starts to kind of go after her, trying to get the box. Okay? And what you can see is you actually can see people pushing this thing down the corridor.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you can
now I'm going to see it, and I'm going to be like...
Yeah, you're going to see it now, because you actually can see them. It was the 80s, man. No one cared. But she gets a hold of the box thing, and she finds out that you can use the box to actually close the demons, close the Cenobites, and like eliminate them, send them back to hell. So she starts like moving the pieces and closing them, and that is causing these weird rotoscoped yellow lines to shoot out and cause the Cenobites to disappear. And it's cheesy as all fuck. And it's terrible. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the worst part of this movie is the ending. Because it's just kind of turns into a normal monster movie at that point. And everything up to this point has not been a normal monster film. But yeah, the Cenobites all get kind of zapped, except for Butterball. He has shit fall on his head, and he never actually goes back to hell. He just has shit fall on his head.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like when I was rewatching, I was like, so he's still.
Oh, he should be still alive. He should be still alive. You know, he should not be dead. But yeah, he never gets sent back to hell. The film ends in a very way, and I think it was probably a lack of money at this point. I think it was probably a lack of, we don't know how to end this thing. So up until this point, I didn't mention this, throughout the entire film, there's been another character that has kind of popped in here and there when it came to Kirsty. And that's this homeless person who looks really gross. Okay, he popped in at a moment where Kirsty was working at a pet shop and just ate a bunch of crickets right out of a cricket container. And just snacking on him. And she's like, you got to get out of here. Well, this homeless person shows up at the absolute end when Kirsty's about to throw this box into a fire, and the homeless person turns into what I would call a Halloween store animatronic.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not good.
I've read interviews where, like, essentially Clive Barker's answer for that is, well, fuck you. We did what we could.
I think it was a combination of lack of money at this point, as well as not knowing how to end the thing. Because really, for me, the ending happens when Frank gets ripped apart. Like that's the end of the movie, and you really could kind of call it a day. Like have the police show up, the end of the movie rolls. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I think somebody said, well, we got to have more Cenobites in this because they're cool. So we got to have an ending thing that feels more like a slasher than it does what this movie is. And the only way you can do that is if you have, them kind of chase Kirsty around, and then, we had that homeless person, we got to have that person show up again. So I think they just didn't have the money. I don't think they knew how to end it. I really don't. Kind of like A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Kind of, yeah. See, I think that like the homeless person, I think that they must have shot the pet store scene after, they shot the end of the movie, and they're like, okay, well, we need to show this guy more than once, so let's just go to Christy work, and the guy can eat crickets.
Well, it's not. Here's the thing. I don't hate it so much. I just hate the fact that you have this amazing makeup throughout the entire time. And it would make more sense if instead of him turning into, say, some giant Halloween store animatronic, that he turns into maybe another Cenobite. Like that would make more sense. Or he turns into that hell demon thing that was chasing Kirsty at one point. Like that would make more sense to me. But I think it was also the fact that they were like, well, we need to have this thing fly, so, have the thing fly. But that part is the one part that always bugged me about the film, is the ending. And especially that part where it's like, you have this amazing work being done throughout the whole film, and then it ends with this Halloween store animatronic that grabs the box and flies away, and then ends with us basically back in Morocco with someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
the
Hellraiser.
whole thing will continue. Yep. Yeah.
The whole thing will continue for many more sequels of questionable quality. Except for the second one. The second one actually is, in my opinion, pretty damn good.
Well, Clive had nothing to do with any of the sequels, right?
He had something to do with the second one. And
Okay.
I believe he had some involvement on a executive producer stance up until, I believe, the fourth one. And that's the one where they go into space. But after that, it was all Harvey Weinstein and Dimension Films and all the shit there that ultimately made Hellraiser a joke. And that's...
Did Harvey Weinstein know how to destroy a horror movie or what?
Oh, man, totally did.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure that's the worst thing he's ever done.
Well, it's just one of those things that, like, I think it's honestly a matter of Hellraiser really is by its very own an intellectual horror film. It is not a slasher. It is not like a Freddy Krueger. It's none of that. It is an intellectual horror film about, ultimately, people. And that's why the Cenobites are rarely in the first one. Is because the horror is generated by Frank and Julia. And the sequel adds a bit more of the world of the Cenobites, but still keeps it to Julia and ultimately the sequel, Dr. Chenard. So it's still about, at its core, these people and their masochistic and evil tendencies kind of manifesting into the Cenobites. Whereas after that, it started to become a slasher. And then after that, it became, well, let's take a script that has nothing to do with Hellraiser and throw Pinhead and some Hellraiser mythology in it. Not even joking about that. If you get
out something, put Pinhead. Yeah.
No, that seriously is it. A lot of the later films were films that had nothing to do with Hellraiser. They were scripts produced by people that had nothing to do with it. And ultimately, Dimension's like, well, we need to keep the rights to Hellraiser because we don't want them to revert back to Clive Barker because he might make something good out of him, and Dimension at the time was making money off of merchandising, so they needed to keep the rights. So every couple of years, they just crank out a new Hellraiser movie that's just garbage one after another. And ultimately got to the point where even Doug Bradley was like, I'm not doing this shit. These movies are crap at this point. Which is where we get Wish, Fit, Pinhead, and the last one, which moderately better, but still, I call it Saw with Hellraiser tendencies. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first one, honestly, if you're looking for a movie that really goes back to the best parts of the late 80s when it comes to practical effects, it actually has a fairly good story. Hellraiser's where it's at. I would also read the novella, just because you're going to get a lot more about the backstory of these characters through the novella. And I don't often go that way all the time. I don't often say, well, you got to read the book. No. This one you have to actually read the book to really get the full picture. I know for me, I appreciated the film more after I read the novella than beforehand.
The book was better.
The book is better. I'm not going to lie and tell you it isn't. It is. The novella is 1,000 times better. But isn't that always the case? I don't think I've ever seen one time where the movie was actually better than the book.
That'd be an interesting episode for the show.
That would be an interesting one.
I think Silence of the Lambs, the movie, is better than the book. That's one
probably. That's that. You know what? Now that you talk about it, yeah, that one probably is. It's hard to say because film is such a different medium than the book. Like you're also competing with people's own interpretations of the material. So, for me, I might read The Hellbound Heart and get something completely different, where you might read it and view something completely different. So it's always one of those things where we're all partial to the book because we've built the story in our minds, where the film pretty much, it exists no matter what you watch, how you watch it, and who watches it. The characters and how they're presented are always the same. But yeah, good talk. Final thoughts on Hellraiser, John?
Just that I wish that there were more horror movies like this. I'm not as huge of a fan as you are, but I appreciate this movie's artistry, its pacing, it's oddly subtlety. Like, if people have never seen it, they're like, oh, I'm sure that's the goriest, scariest thing ever. Like, no, there is a subtle nuance to the way that they do this movie that you don't really see, not just in other horror movies, but hell, even a lot of the sequels, as we mentioned. So, I admire the artistry that goes into this movie.
Funny enough, I didn't mention this. This movie was the inspiration for Dan Aykroyd to make Nothing But Trouble.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He saw this movie and thought that it was ridiculous and cracked up and said, well, I can make a better horror comedy than that. He thought this was a horror comedy.
Okay.
I don't know where he gets that from, but
Dan's a very weird man.
He is, but yeah, this movie was the inspiration to make Nothing But Trouble, which I love that film too, but that's a story for another day.
Well, speaking of dick face, he literally has a dick face.
He literally does. He literally does. Yeah, it's a great film. We're gonna have to do that one.
Yeah, that's going to be our great debate episode, I think.
I probably, because I know you hate it and I love that movie.
I think I was like, let's do it for Pantheon of Utter Shit, and you smacked me across the face.
No.
Yeah. How dare you? Yeah.
How dare you? Yeah. All right. Well, John, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can go on Twitter. You can actually just search my name and I'll come up, but you can actually put in my handle, which is the Unreal J Wolves, and find me on YouTube, JDubs Video Nasties. Give us a subscribe. Check it out. Anything new up on the JDubs? Yeah, I got Strange Dead Fellows, which is I did an interview with an author, a horror author, about discussing how a lot of the slasher movies of the 80s had underlying conservative ideology. Yeah. That's awesome. Good stuff. Check it out. And it's definitely true, though. I saw that with a lot of those. However, people like Roger Ebert had no problem trashing those films. Oh, he trashed Hellraiser as well.
Yeah, I know he did. I know he's a fucking piece of shit burning. Anyway, you can find me at Brian Content. I also run the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network, epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you are in possession of the Lament configuration, I would like to have it. So you can contact us to get a drop-off with me at cinemapsychoshow.com. Be sure to subscribe to us or follow us wherever you listen to audio, and we will see you next time.
Good news, baby. It looks like eggplant parm now.
Gross.
Epicast.